boys, we're going to look at trigonometry today, which is a new topic. Now, trigonometry is just a fancy word for triangle measurement. Okay, so in that word trigonometry, trigonon comes from Greek and it means triangle, and metron means measure. So simply a topic involving the measurement of triangles. Now, trigonometry is mainly used to find unknown lengths and angles in triangles. And in Year 9, we focus only on right-angled triangles. So let's start off with the basics, labelling sides. So in geometry and trigonometry, we use capital letters to label the angles or vertices of a triangle. So if you look at the diagram below, let's label the sides and the angles. So we're going to start off with the angles. Capital letters are used, so let's start off with something like A, B, C, yeah? So A, B, C. You can use any capital letters you like. Now, by convention, we use lowercase letters to label the sides. Now, we use little a, or lowercase a, to label the side opposite angle A, and little b to label the side opposite angle B, and so on. So here's angle A. There is angle A. Let me just mark it. Angle A is just there. So side A is marked with lowercase a. Here is angle B. Now the side opposite angle B is labelled with lowercase b. And here's angle C. Let's put a little X for that one. The side opposite angle C is labelled with lowercase c. So this side here, which the arrow is pointing to, that's called side B. But we could also use capital letters. We could label it as side AC as well. So AC or CA. So if you're going to use capital letters to label a side, you need to use two capital letters, but we can label it with one letter as long as it's lowercase for that side. Okay, now copy that down. Now what about naming angles? If I was to name this angle here up the top here, I would use the angle symbol, angle A, or we could use three letters. So angle BAC would be the name of that angle, angle BAC. The middle letter has to be the vertex. Vertex is the corner of the triangle there, one of the corners. And another way we could name that same angle, use the angle symbol, angle CAB. Now, if you follow the path, CAB, that should mark out the given angle. Now, sometimes we use Greek letters to label angles. So, for example, this angle here, maybe we'll call it alpha. That's a little symbol for alpha. There we go. Maybe this here we could call it theta. This is a Greek letter called theta. And here maybe we could label this angle here beta. Okay. So these three Greek letters, theta, alpha, and beta, can also be used to label the angles. Okay, so just for future reference, this little symbol here is alpha. Sorry, not alpha, it's theta. So we've got theta there. This symbol here with a little tail on the B, that is beta. And you would have seen these before back in Year 7. And this one is alpha. Okay, so now let's move on to right angle triangles. Now back in Year 8, you would have done Pythagoras' theorem and you would have learned about a word called the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is the longest side in a right angle triangle and it's opposite the right angle. So over here is my right angle. So opposite the right angle is the hypotenuse. So we label that there. Hypotenuse. Okay. Same thing over here. The side opposite the right angle here is the longest side. We call that the hypotenuse. Now, in trigonometry, the other two sides in your triangle are named opposite or adjacent. Now, these are specific words and they refer to the position of the side in relation to a particular angle. Okay? Now, adjacent means next to. So if I go to the side, which is next to the angle, so here's my acute angle. So these sides, opposite and adjacent, are named according to a specific acute angle. Now, in this triangle, there's my right angle, and I've got two acute angles here. One of them is marked with the letter theta. So this is the actual angle that I'm uh, referring to. So for this side here, for this angle here, the side next to that angle, that's the adjacent side. So label that as adjacent. A, D, J, A, C, E, N, T. That's the adjacent side. Adjacent means next to. So this side here is next to the marked angle. Now this side here, sorry, this angle here, if we look at the side opposite that, that's called the opposite side. Now it's opposite to the given angle, the given acute angle. The hypotenuse is opposite the right angle, but this side here, which we label opposite, is the side opposite to one of the acute angles. Now, this acute angle here is marked theta, and that's how we know to use that angle. Let's come over to the other triangle now. Now, this time the acute angle that we're referring to is this one, because it's been marked with the Greek letter alpha there. Now, the side furthest away from that angle is the opposite side, so that's labelled opposite. And the side next to this angle, which is this side here, that is the adjacent side. Okay. Now, so we don't have to always write these words down, it is common to abbreviate them with a single letter. So what we often do is label the hypotenuse with capital H instead. There we go. For the opposite side, quite often we put the letter O and the adjacent side capital A. So O meaning opposite, A adjacent, and H hypotenuse. So we can do the same thing over here, O for the opposite side and A for the adjacent side. All right, so let's come down to, make sure that's copied down. Let's come down to our first question. Now it says, label the sides opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse in relation to the marked angle. So if you look at the first triangle, the marked angle is here, right? So they'll mark it with an arc or a symbol. So we're going to start off with the easy one. The easy one is the hypotenuse. Now that's the side opposite the right angle. Here we go. So here I'm going to label that H for hypotenuse. Okay, now the other two sides, let's take the side furthest away from the marked angle, which is over here. That'll be the opposite side. And then the side which is next to this side, that's the adjacent side. Adjacent means next to. Okay, so in class, if you're sitting next to someone, you are adjacent to them. You're next to them. Let's come over to this question now. We've got this time, this is the marked angle here. So this angle here with the Greek letter, that's my marked angle. All right, so keep that in mind. Now the side opposite the right angle, that's the hypotenuse. So we use that capital H to mark the hypotenuse. The side furthest away from the marked angle is the opposite side. And the side next to the marked angle is the adjacent side. Okay, so we've got O, A, and H there. All right, copy that down. And I want you to try the next two by yourself, if you can. So here's the marked angle in this triangle, and here is the marked angle in the second triangle. Okay, so have a go at labelling the opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. Okay, so let's have a look. So starting off with the hypotenuse, the side opposite the right angle is the hypotenuse. The side furthest away from the marked angle is the opposite side, and then the remaining side is the adjacent side. Coming over here, the side opposite the right angle is the hypotenuse. The side furthest away from the marked angle is the opposite side, and then the other side is the adjacent side, because that's next to the marked angle. Okay, let's try this one. This time the marked angle is beta, Greek letter. There we go. So I want you to label the sides opposite and adjacent hypotenuse. So start off with hypotenuse, and then we've got the side furthest away from the angle is the opposite side, and then we have the adjacent side here. Okay, so we've got opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. Okay, all right, so let's have a look at these questions now. You could do the same thing for these questions. For each triangle, name the hypotenuse, opposite, and adjacent. Have a go. Okay, so let's have a look at the first one. Now here's my marked angle theta, the side, and here's my right angle. So I'll start off with the hypotenuse first, which is there. Don't worry about these numbers yet. They'll come into play a bit later on. The opposite side is the 8, so we call that opposite, and the side next to this is the adjacent. Okay. Now coming over here, here's my marked angle. There it is. Now let's start with the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is opposite the right angle. And then the side furthest from the marked angle is the opposite side. And the side next to the side of the adjacent side. So if I said to you what side is the hypotenuse, you could say it's side P. If I said to you what side is the opposite side, you could say it's side R. And what's the adjacent side, you could say it's side Q. Okay. Now, what about this triangle here? Here's my marked angle. Let's start with the right angle. The side opposite the right angle is the hypotenuse. The side furthest away from the marked angle is the opposite side. And then the side next to the marked angle is the adjacent side. Okay, so if I said to you what's the opposite side, you could say it's side EG. If I said to you what's the hypotenuse, you could say it's side EF. And if I said to you what's the adjacent side, you could say it's side GF. Okay. All right, now let's try this. For angles alpha and beta, name the adjacent side. Okay, now let's start off with alpha. Okay, now here's alpha. So I'm going to start off with the hypotenuse first. Here's the hypotenuse, right? Now the side which is furthest from alpha is the opposite side. And the side closest to alpha is the adjacent side. So I would say in that triangle there, because it says name the adjacent side. So for angle alpha, for angle alpha, the adjacent side right, that is 7, isn't it? The adjacent side has a length of 7. Now, for beta, let's have a look. So beta, let's just use a different color here. So beta, this is my marked angle now. So I'm not talking about alpha now. Now I'm talking about beta. So for beta, well, the hypotenuse will be the same. But for beta, the opposite side now is this. So because I'm talking about a different angle, this is now the opposite side. And this side over here is the adjacent side, okay? So because I'm talking about a different acute angle now. So for angle beta, the adjacent side is actually 24, okay? So what you learned from this question is that the opposite side and the adjacent side, their labels depend on which angle they are referring to, okay? All right, so that's the end of that lesson on naming signs.